Oh boy, no intro. You know what that means? It's a rant video, and today we're talking about this survey, which has never graced my computer, has never graced my Xbox. Apparently only certain people are getting it, and I was not one of them, probably because they know what I'll have to say. It is a Metal Fest survey, and what is the question being asked? What collaborations with anime would you like to see in World of Tanks Modern Armor? What collaborations with anime? They have Girls and Panzer, One Piece, Blue Archive, Girls Frontline, Hololive, Attack on Titan, Vinland Saga, Valkyria, Tank Chronicles, and Sakurai Wars. And now, I don't have a problem with anime. But I do have a problem with them already deciding that the next collaboration must be anime. Because this tells me that there is a weeb there who has decided to impose their own culture on this game that has nothing to do with those things. Like, there isn't a question of, oh, maybe do you want to see a new band? Do you want to see Skillet? Do you want to see Sabaton return? Do you want to see some other rock band that is very metal, very tank-like? Do you want to see maybe another collaboration with some of the tank movies out there? Maybe another Fury collaboration, or Saints and some other. It's another tank movie. But there's a ton of tank movies out there. There's other tank games, right? And so there's a lot of things they could do. But instead, there's somebody out there who's like, you know what? I'm a weeb. I have no girlfriends. I'm just kidding. I do. They're AI. And I really want this to be in the game. And this is where I would typically rant unhinged, but I've decided to tone it back a touch just for the start. I'll translate it in rant, don't worry, and go into what I really want to say, what I have to say about this. Again, there's nothing wrong with you liking anime, there's nothing wrong with you wanting anime in the game, but there is something wrong if you are a developer and that is what you are prioritizing. And so this is what I have to say. I've decided to combine the fact that I am an author and a writer. Why don't I use that? So here we go. And so it's a difficult thing to say, but sometimes tough conversations are necessary. If someone isn't fulfilling the responsibilities of their role, perhaps they're not the right fit for the job. When a company brings someone on board, it comes with the basic expectation that personal interests won't overshadow professional obligations, especially in fields that demand broad audience appeal and careful stewardship of community culture. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with having niche passions or subculture leanings. Anime fandom, for example, can be vibrant and creative in the right context. The trouble arises when an employee blurs the crucial line between personal enthusiasm and professional responsibility, using their position to imprint their individual tastes on a product meant for a wide, diverse audience. Most working people understand that hobbies are an escape, something to pursue outside office hours. In creative industries, talent and individual flair are valuable, but they must always serve the greater good of the project. Hiring for a tank game should focus on skills relevant to military history, game mechanics, and strategic depth, not personal obsessions or fetishes, however harmless they might seem in isolation. If a project starts to feel less like what the majority of the community loves and more like the private sandbox of a few individuals, something has gone wrong. Passion is not unwelcome. It's just that passion must be anchored by self-awareness and a clear sense of purpose. When someone tries to make a community or game in their own image rather than building what the audience desires, the result isn't creative freedom. It's creative insularity, which is ignorance of or lack of interest in cultures, ideas, or peoples outside of one's own experience. At its best, game design is about listening more than asserting, channeling collective aspirations, not one's individual fantasy. Now, I know it's tempting to reduce workplace problems to caricature or stereotype, but the real issue is often more subtle and more troubling than any exaggerated image of an out-of-touch hire with questionable credentials. In many modern organizations, there's a rising trend of valuing certain fashionable qualities or backgrounds over practical expertise and hard-won experience. Academic interests that were, until recently, relegated to the margins, obscure interdisciplinary majors, social theory for its own sake, or career tracks built more on ideology than applicable skill, are suddenly taking center stage. Now, this isn't to say that new perspectives have no place in a creative environment, but far from it. But when the individuals, often fresh from these academic settings, that reward the cultivation of personal identity over market reality, enter the workforce, there's sometimes a disconnect. Quite often, it seems. They've been taught to prize emotional comfort, to see their feelings as sacrosanct, and to demand institutional space for self-expression, often without grappling with the relentless pressures of customer-driven industries. And sacrosanct, if you're wondering what that means, especially of a principle, place, or routine, regarded as too important or valuable to be interfered with. That's how they view their feelings. And the heart of the problem is when this mentality slips into arrogance. When employees forget that the customer, not the creator, determines a product's success. Confidence morphs into self-importance. Creative vision turns inward instead of outwards. The most successful games and communities are built on mutual respect. Developers listen, learn, and meet their audience where they are, not where they wish everyone would be. When that respect breaks down, no amount of progressive language or personal branding can repair the fundamental disconnect between those who make a product and those who actually pay for it. Whew! Yeah, that's a script. I read it. But you're probably wondering, what does this all mean? What's the translation? Well, now that I've gotten through the politically correct way of saying things, I'm just gonna tell you what I was trying to say. And whoever he or she should be, or is, should be fired. And I know it sounds harsh, but that's the truth of it. He's been hired to do a job and to do it well, not to indulge himself in fantasies at work. The normal working class have a thing called hobbies, which they like to do on their free time, which allows them to unwind and enjoy the space called life. However, one does not bring those hobbies into the workspace when those hobbies are not the reason you were hired. AKA, you are not an artist. No one is getting hired for a tank game because they like anime. Emphasis on because they like anime. And if they are, there's a bigger problem at play. There is nothing wrong with being a weeb, but there is when you believe you can simply force that on your player base instead of actually trying to find something that the community would enjoy. You've decided for them. What's likely going on here is some blue-haired millennial whose only girlfriends consist of busty anime pillows and AA chat boxes, just finished getting their degree in insert made-up useless college degree here and DEI social sciences and how it harms the environment because of ice. They or Zay or Mamali or whatever they think they are probably didn't learn how money is made and instead was taught how important their feelings and safe spaces are, probably thinking that they are more important and truer than yours, even though you're the customer. There we go. There's the unhinged version. the version that was like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say these things on my YouTube channel. Well, I said them anyway. But suffice it to say, I'm not exactly happy or thrilled about them deciding to have a collaboration, and it must be an anime. Like, it has to be an anime. I don't care if you have a collaboration with an anime if that's what the people vote for, but you're making it so that they can only vote for an anime. You are forcing it on a game which should not, like, this game is played by veterans. Tons and tons of veterans. United States veterans, Canadian veterans, German veterans, just veterans. Like, why on earth United Kingdom veterans? I've got some friends in the Royal, or who were in the Royal Air Force when I first started playing, who are now out of the Royal Air Force. Like, there's so many veterans who play this game. This is a very manly culture. There are some women who play the game, sure, but it's a very manly culture. And so you've got to capitalize on that. Like, what is your audience? You can't decide what your audience is. You have to know what your audience is, and that's what I mentioned in my tame rant. And they've decided not to. They're not looking outwards. They're instead looking inwards, and that's no good. That's no bueno. This is not looking good, especially considering the fall of World of Tanks right now. The fact that half the players that typically play are actually playing at the moment. Like, I'm logging in and there's 3,500 players online. Like, that is so bad. This game is so dead, and they're still trying to fix it by not meeting the customer, but telling the customer where they're supposed to be. Like, that is, well, I'm going to use the W word, that is woke. Even if they're not pushing, let's say, sexual politics, that is still woke ideas of, oh, the customer needs to fit me, not my product needs to fit the customer. So, but that's the rant. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button, comment, subscribe, and I'll be seeing you all later. Let me know your thoughts on this survey in the description below. Obviously, again, I don't care if people vote like, oh, we want to see anime in the game, and that's what they voted for, sure, but they didn't even give that option. They just said, what anime do you want in the game? So, yeah. But take care, everyone, and peace out.